This is the Business Value Exchange, and I'm Helen Beckett, the Community Moderator. And with us today we have Dr. Ben Booth, who's an interim CIO Director, typically for large global enterprises, and who formerly was the Global CIO Director, the Global CIO for Ipsos Mori, a research company. Welcome, Ben.
Hello.
And today we're going to talk about the topic of the very big task that faces the incoming CIO, whether interim or permanent. In the past, we talked about what has to be achieved in the first 100 days, but I know you break it down into smaller milestones of the first week and the first month. Can you talk us a little bit about your strategy or plan for those two milestones?
Yes. Firstly, talking about the first week, the most important thing to do is to understand your stakeholders. So meeting and understanding the key business stakeholders, probably the person or the people you're reporting to. And the second important group of stakeholders will be people who are your customers, your clients, whether they're internal or external. Clearly, you're delivering services to them. You have to understand what they're looking for. So those two things are perhaps crucial during the first week, together with meeting your own staff and getting an overview of the technology environment. I'd be looking to make my second milestone is perhaps around a month, maybe a little longer, and that's to produce the first plan going forward, something you can go through with those senior stakeholders to make sure that they're comfortable with what you're proposing before it gets a wider airing.
Okay, so I can see that's a really key priority. Is in order to make a personal impact, you have to engage effectively with the key people.
Exactly.
Is there any particular way of doing that, particularly in a global enterprise, which might be quite geographically dispersed? Is there any approach that you prefer?
I think as far as possible, face-to-face is the way to do it. Of course, there may be some challenges geographically with distance if you're in a global business or an international one, and video conference and things like that can help, or indeed just a phone call is a first step forward. But I would say that on the first steps is to meet people face to face, and in those first meetings, one is I think very much in listening mode to understand their concerns, to understand their priorities, and to understand what they feel could quite possibly be improved with the area that you've just taken on.
Okay, and of those, you mentioned those stakeholders, perhaps that the CFO is one of the most important, particularly if you're reporting to the CFO, which is so common amongst CIOs, isn't it? I mean, understanding the whole financial accounting system of the company, how are there kind of any particular areas you'd break down the incoming CIO within the first week and month again?
Well, there are two particular areas. One is to understand broadly the financial basis for the business you're working with. What are the areas of high spend? What are the areas of profitability? What are the areas where there is less profitability? And so that you can understand where technology and where your services are going to help the business to make money and to improve its margins. And secondly, you have to understand how your own department's finances work. You need to know where the costs are. You need to be benchmarking as you go along to see what seems to be a high cost, where you can make some quick wins to get costs down and to do things better. So two important areas of finance there.
So, okay, so you've described quite a broad array of tasks there, covering people first and foremost, finance and technology, all of which you have to get a grip on those first critical days. Any other,
Exactly.
Finally, at the end of the sort of first week or month, is there any other sort of mental checklist that you have in your head to see whether you're on course?
Well, at the end of the first week, I'd like to be well advanced in meeting people and understanding how things work. It's perhaps some ideas will be beginning to form about the plan going forward, but I think it would be probably too soon after that first week to be more concrete in that way, except for perhaps getting some feels for how the technology and business could be aligned, and that's one of the key things going forward, of course.
One of these huge concerns, of course, business alignment. Okay, thanks so much, Dr. Ben Booth, for sharing those thoughts with us. They're going to be invaluable for incoming CIOs, I think. Many thanks.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.